Welcome all my dear student of TYBSc class. Today we are going to start new chapter number 4 of physics paper 5th, that is computational physics, and the chapter 4 is nothing but user define functions. User defined functions or simply user defined function. Okay. Now, in the introduction of this chapter, we can see that what is function, then what is the advantage of function, how function can be assessed. Okay. Now, in C programming, we have discussed various library functions like printf, scanf, then puts, gets, sine, cosine, exit, etc. All these are library functions, and we already studied these functions in chapter number 2. Remember, now I am going to tell you that C programming also allows a programmer to define their own functions to carry out various tasks, and this is called user defined function. Okay. What is user defined function? C programming also allows a programmer to define their own functions to carry out various tasks called user defined function. We know that main is one of such functions where execution of program begins. What I say? Main is one of such functions where execution of program begins. Other functions are also executed when they are called directly or indirectly by main function. What I say? Other functions are also executed when they are called directly or indirectly by main function. Okay. The use of user defined function allows a large program to be split up into small segments, each of which has unique purpose. Remember that this is very important. The use of user defined function allows a large program to be split up into small segments, each of which has unique purpose. Now, question is arise that what is function? What is function? And the answer is very simple. A function is an independent or self-contained block of statement that performs a specific well-defined task, or we can say that a specific well-defined and well-desired task, and may return a value to the calling program. What I say? Function is an independent or self-contained block of statements that perform a specific well-defined task as well as desired task, and may return a value to the calling program. We can elaborate this definition by a very simple manner. I am again going to repeat the definition of function, or what is function, and then I am going to elaborate that definition. Okay. So, function is an independent or self-contained, independent or self-contained block of statements, and this block perform a specific well-defined, or we can say that desired task. Okay. And after then may return a value to the calling program. This is the definition of function. Now function developed includes problem solving, designing and coding. There are three parts. When function is going to develop, then there are three types. Or function develop includes problem solving, number 1, designing, number 2, and coding, 3. Designing and coding, or designing and writing the program of small size is easier. If program is very small, then designing and writing of program of small size is easier. If the coding is more than 1000 lines, then it will become difficult and tedious to find the errors in the program and debug that error. Okay. Hence, a large program is broken into small subprograms, and such a small, compact and more manageable module is a function. In this way, we can elaborate the definition of function. So, now we have to see the advantages of function. What will be the advantages of function? There are many advantages, but here I am going to tell you few important advantages of the program. Number 1, advantages of function. Number 1, functions are useful for modular and structural programming. First advantages of function. Okay. Number 1, functions are useful for modular and structural programming. Modular and structural programming functions are useful. Second advantage is that function can be used many times in program, in other program also. What I say? Function can be used many times in the program and in other program also. Okay. Third advantages is, I already told you that function allows large program to be broken into number of small components or segments which will be useful in debugging process. Debugging process means what? Removal of the errors in the program. This is nothing but debugging process, and hence I am again going to repeat that function allows a large program to be broken into number of smaller components or segments which will be useful in debugging process. Okay. Now, fourth advantage is that when we develop the program, now during the development of program, the function can be called itself again and again. And this process is called recursive process. Or what is recursion? What is recursion? Single. Recursion is nothing but a function can be called itself again and again in the same program. This is called recursive process or simply recursion. Okay. Now next advantage, that is advantage number 5. It is when we use a function in the program, then it will be helpful or it is easier to understand the programming logic. When we use the function in the program, then it is easier to understand the program logic. And if we are unable to understand the programming logic, then we can't properly understand that whole program. So it is easier to understand the program logic when we use the function in the program, user defined function. Okay. Now when we use the function in the program development become easier. If we want to become when we are going to write the program logic and we want to become that program logic very simple, then program development can becomes easier when we use the function in the program. And last but not least, frequently used function can be put off or can be put together in a customized library. What I say? Frequently used functions can be put together in a customized library. Okay. All these advantages of the functions are very important when we are going to develop the program. Okay. Now we are going to see the types of functions. Types of functions. Types of function. There are two types. First one, there are two types of function. First one, predefined function. Predefined function. And second one is user defined function. Predefined function. These functions are already studied by us in chapter number 2. Predefined function is also called library function. Library functions. For example, printf, scanf, gets, puts, exit. All these are predefined function. Main function. This is predefined function. When we use the main or word main in the program, then compiler tells the computer that program begins from here. And these functions are placed in C library. Okay. And I am again told you that all these functions are well studied by us in chapter number 2. Now user defined function. This is our target. User defined function. These functions are written by user. Okay. And user has freedom to choose the name, to choose the argument, and to choose the return data type of function. This is not allowed in predefined function. But in user defined function, user has freedom to define the name or to choose the name, to choose the argument and return data type of the function. Okay. Now defining of the function is very important. How function can be defined? After the type of function, defining the function. This is very important point. The definition of the function has two principal components. The definition of the function has two principal components. The first line and the body of the function. The body of the function. What is first line and what is the body of the function? First line of definition contains the type specification followed by function name and set of arguments followed by commas and enclosed in parenthesis or round bracket. Okay, I am again going to repeat that. How function is defined in the definition of function, or when we are going to define the function, then definition has two principal components. The first one is the first line and second part is the body of the function. First line of definition contains the type specification followed by the function name and set of arguments followed by the commas and enclosed in the parenthesis or round bracket. Okay. Now in general, how we define the function? Data type. For example, data type. This is the type of the arguments. So, type of the function. This is the type. Data type function. Then name. And this name contains type 1, argument 1. Type 2, argument 2. Type n, argument n. Okay. Termination is not necessary. So this is the first line of function, and this function, this definition contains the data type functions followed by name of the function and set of arguments, that is argument 1, type 1, argument 1, type 2, argument 2, type n, argument 1. Okay. This is the general. Now here in this definition, data type represents the data type of the item. Which items are used? For example, integer, float, double, long, etc. So data type represents the data type of item or variable that is returned by the function name function. Function name function. Now here type 1, type 2, type n represent the data type of argument. Argument 1, argument 2, argument 2, 3 up to argument n. Okay. And the data types are assumed to be integer when if they are not shown explicitly. If data type is not shown explicitly, that means out of the function, then it will be considered as an integer data type. Okay. And these arguments, argument 1, argument 2, argument 3 up to argument n, these arguments are called formal argument. There are two types of arguments, formal argument and actual argument, which will be seen later on. There are two types of formal argument and actual argument. But here these arguments, argument 1, argument 2, these arguments are called formal argument. Okay. the remaining part of the function, is called compound statement. That defines action to be taken by the function. And this compound statement is also called body of function. This is the second part of, or second line of the function definition. And these are nothing but compound statement that define the action to be taken by the function. And this compound statement is also called a body of function, or simply body or function body. The statement or statements may be expression statement. Here single statement, if there is single statement, then we can say statement or statements. And these statement or statements may be expression statement, control statement, one or more written statements. Okay. The function name, that means this function name, this one. The function name may be, remember that is very important. This is very important. The function name may be any valid C identifier and must be unique in a particular program. That means what? There should not be repetition of the name. Otherwise, compiler get confused. So, function name may be any valid C identifier and must be unique. Must be unique in a particular program. Unique in a particular program means what? There should not be repetition of the same name in the same program. So, in order to understand this function definition, we are going to see a very simple program. Very simple program. Suppose